Amber Heard reminds you of the kid in school that would bite themselves when no one is looking, and then tells the world you bit them, and now you have to prove you did it.
So my point, though, Michelle,
Oh my God.
not Michelle,
Yeah, Nicole,
Natalie. No, so she does criminal law. So talking about,
she's also fairly left compared to the rest of
yeah. And we had to kind of find a comfort zone for ourselves there. But here the thing is, she doesn't like women who fake being abused.
Yes,
because it ruins it for the women who are being abused.
By the way, Ron, that's a left and right consensus point.
Yeah, well,
that's a consensus point.
But you have to it's always going to be a question of what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that she recognizes that Amber Heard is full of hot garbage and is turning on her.
Does she?
I don't know
her.
She doesn't. She has a lot of experience with battering type cases.
Okay,
as well as injury related cases because of her former work doing employment. Disability. And she pointed out a number of sort of ticks that you see in testimony when people are trying to frame things to anticipate your obvious grounds for not believing them. So, in other words, after he beat the hell out of me and jumped on my back and pounded me with razors, I had a premiere. And I went to with a backless dress, and I just couldn't. I kept looking at myself, saying, "I hope my injuries don't show in the backless dress," which is her way of trying to telegraph. You're probably wondering why my back looks flawless in the backless dress.
Right.
Well, believe me, I'm as surprised as you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. Like that. That's. I mean, you can see it too. It's the story is expanded. It's the fish that's now the Jonah's whale right at this point, right? It's out of control. I mean,
so the question I wanted to ask, and I'm sure everyone involved in civil work is asking this question: why are the lawyers doing this? Why are they letting her go on with this? And and the consensus seems to be, they can't really climb down at this point. They can't climb down. There's nowhere for them to go. Every civil case, and to a different extent, a criminal case, but really every civil case is a chicken game. And the question is always, when are you going to get off? Who's going to blink first? Who's going to swerve off the road?
Yep.
And here you had, this is the kind of sleazy joint reputation, mutual assured destruction case that good lawyers on both sides tell their clients not to prosecute.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm her lawyer, first of all, I would never be her lawyer in a million years. By which I mean I would not be these lawyers, because if I were her lawyer, this trial would look a lot different from how it's been looking.
Mm-hmm.
But Johnny Depp's lawyers, I'm sure, have the question you have to ask yourself, and you have to ask the client. I'm sure they have these conversations. What is your goal? She doesn't have deep pockets. So whatever number we are able to convince a jury, in theory, if we win this case, we win the uphill battle of winning a defamation case.
With a deck stacked against you, because the deck is stacked deep against you.
Deep against you, but we get an award of $20 million. She got no $20 million. She spent the $7 you gave her.
Yeah,
that's gone. And what's not gone is there's a lien on it from the law firm. So it's not going to be money. So people say, well, he wanted to vindicate. A lot of stuff was coming out about him, made him look really bad. He wanted to vindicate himself. We have a word. We're going to have to do it again to you, Joe.
Uh-oh.
You
There's
two
a word?
Bashmutzt. They have bashmutzt each other. They have bashmutzt. They have so splattered each other with mud.
I'll translate.
Is that besmirched?
No, what he's saying really is that both of their reputations have been geschmetted. Okay.
So you give me you give me something that I'm like, all right, I got like this a little bit, inferring, and then whatever, and like my passable German, and then you throw in something. I'm like, all right, you layer it on top.
So schmutz. They have schmutz in German.
That word works. Yeah, you can use that word.
Dirt.
No, I'm saying that's a German word, right?
Yeah, schmutz. Yeah.
So it'd be probably like verschmutzt.
Yeah.
Made filthy.
Made dirty. Yeah.
Dirtified. They dirtified each other. I mean, they both lose. So there's a marginal increment of his vindicating, demonstrating that you heard some bad stuff about me, and I maybe everything I did wasn't so great, but look at this nightmare that I was living with. All right, but meanwhile we're learning what a drunk you are, and what a what a toxic environment. Joe.
Totally disagree, Ron. Totally disagree.
Yeah, it's
well, you think it was a good, loving environment? What do you think?
You've watched much more of this than I have, so I want to hear.
I'll tell you what it is. Okay, you have to understand. Put yourself in his shoes. Okay, let's put ourselves
Johnny
in
Depp's shoes.
We'll put him in each of their shoes. Okay.
Okay.
So she basically, if you heard her describe the relationship, her whole fixation was how everything was a whirlwind, and she lights up thinking back to that time when they first met and how they had to sneak off in secret, and how she describes, basically, she sounds like a teenager talking about the best infatuation of her life. And she also, yeah, exactly, where everything is so fresh and exciting, and we can't keep our hands off of each other, and it's secret because we have our relationship. And she and how there's they're driving around in convertibles and all the money. She's coming from nowhere. She's a nobody actress, and basically she describes someone. She never talks about how brilliant, clever, funny, articulate, caring, charming, handsome he is. Never talking about Johnny. Constantly talking about how much the relationship was so amazing because she was in love. It comes across like she was very much in love with the role of being Johnny Depp's girlfriend / later wife. Like that role, which all the other women in the world were at that time. You have to realize, he's hot in the middle of his, everyone being crazy in love with him after Pirates, and she now is stepping into the role that every little girl in the world wishes that they had, and that's her. So she's living the princess dream now, and that's why I think she's clawing at him when he's running away and saying, "You can't come away from me." No, there's abandonment and all these other issues because she doesn't want to lose that role. She loves that role far more than she loves him, which is why when she's talking about her relationship and trying to even paint it as something so beautiful, she talks about, I can't believe I love this human. She doesn't even say Johnny. She doesn't even use the word Johnny in her description because it's all about her, how this relationship makes her feel about herself. Now when it's crushed, when it's dashed to pieces, because he's like, I'm done with this psycho bitch, so I'm done with her. So now she basically says to herself, okay, you know what? I'm gonna remain this queen by taking on this new role. I'm starring in my new role as queen of the Me Too movement. And all of a sudden, all the relationship, everything like that, and I'm punish him by basically implying, without really saying, because he didn't really do this stuff. So we have a concept in Talmud, which is like sort of modeb and mixas, that if someone gives a partial admission, that we make them give an oath. But as opposed to someone who has a complete admission, there's a whole different set of laws. Someone who makes complete admission versus someone who makes a partial admission, and it's because it understands the psyche of a human being. It's much easier to make a partial lie than to flat out say something that comes from nowhere. At least when you're first starting to lie about something. So that being the case, we look at that as being really. If I admit that part of this money is yours, in that case, that's very different than me saying, no, this whole money is mine and none of it is yours. So when she's coming out there, just implying that there's DV and not saying, look, he stuck his bottle here and he grabbed my throat there and he punched me in the back of the head 16 times. She had to build up to that and sort of say, okay, this is the person in the position I'm taking. Instead, she gives this veiled innuendo so that she can ascend to the throne of the Me Too movement, which is what she really did. She even becomes this ambassador of the ACLU because, why? Because she's the battered woman who gives them tons of money.
How are you in any way responding? In other words, you're saying, Ron, you're wrong. Everything you're saying is 100% right. But I'm saying, but I'm saying
you're demurring.
I'm just asking. Nonetheless, so much trash has come out. Okay, so you're saying she loses in the battle of who comes across as a worse behaved adult. It far and away, she's the loser here. Not only that, she had so much more to lose, and so much little less to gain.
Why? I think she had everything to gain. She had everything to gain. She wants.
That's where I'm at, because I think
that's what I'm
I
saying.
think
she
became irrelevant. Yeah,
she would have been irrelevant.
Well,
now
no. I'm saying,
movement. Everyone said, "We love you. You're a poor battered woman." So that's what she wants. That's why she's doing this, and she finds herself sued by Johnny Depp for it.
So you're saying doing this? You're talking about the op-ed.
The op-ed and all the speaking engagements.
The op-ed improves her because Me Too was trending. Everybody wanted to support Me Too.
And plus, she's the defendant. She can't settle the case unless the plaintiff wants to settle the case.
Right. Now,
and that would require her. So the only way she can settle this case, because she doesn't have money, would be to enter into a stipulation, and
and she apologizes.
She apologizes, and then she would have to admit to all kinds of perjury. And lose all her standing. Instead of maybe. But now, let's go to Johnny.
Okay. So coming to Johnny.
And by the way, here's where I'm kind of agreeing with Ron on this, is that I don't think Johnny comes out of this looking crystal clean, right? I mean, I don't think Johnny comes out of this like unbesmirched. I do think he looks better than being accused of domestic violence and sexual violence, but I think doesn't come out of this looking like he's crystal clear. I think it's still going to be difficult for him to find certain jobs going forward. But I mean that.
But if you're Johnny,